Hello, college football fans. Welcome back to a special edition of Urban's Take. We promised you we'd be back, and here we are, Tim May, along with Urban Meyer, giving you some views on this college football playoff scenario as it sets up. And Urban, Big Noon Kickoff, of course, has to step aside for this kind of endeavor, but you've hooked up with the Big Ten Network, part of the Fox family a little bit, to help preview these games. How much are you looking forward to that?
Well, I miss my guys at Big Noon Kickoff. We had a great year, and hopefully the playoff expands. We get a little piece of that, and we should be involved in it. So
yeah.
But Big Ten Network has always been great. When I was coaching the Buckeyes, I loved the Big Ten Network. It's a first-class organization. I should be here with Joshua Perry and talking about the Buckeyes against Georgia. So look forward to it.
Yeah. Real quick before we move on, what is it like though to be involved all year in something, and then because of basically network affiliations, you do have to kind of step back a little bit. Meanwhile, the actual game, us guys in the media, we just cover it no matter what. But it is kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's hopefully you have a little bit of other networks get involved.
Yes.
ESPN right now, and they paid a lot of money for it, and this is the biggest show on the planet right now is the playoffs. So hopefully we get involved. It is when Matt, Reggie, Brady, and Rob Stone and my crew. We were sitting there watching this, and we should be there.
Yeah.
But it's all part of the business, I guess.
I know it is. Hey, wanted to jump into here before we get into what I really want to talk about. As I'm calling this game, this is the Bulldogs versus the underdogs, Ohio State and Georgia, obviously. But as you look at it, are you looking forward to the 12-team playoff, or I think there's a pretty good fever pitch going on right now about this playoff. Or are you looking forward to more teams being involved?
I am now. I think I just was always a defender of the student athlete. When you start seeing all these games, I remember when we won it all, we went 14-1. That's 15 games, and I remember the first time our players head off was spring break because they went right back to school. The wear and tear on your bodies, but I mean, there's nothing better. And I think the 12-team playoff, that's what the fans wanted. I can see it now. I'm still anxious to see how they do this. I keep hearing that, can you imagine Notre Dame, just the weather we had last week, Notre Dame, Ohio State?
Nope.
Here comes University of Florida coming into Ohio Stadium with a -15 wind chill. So but I've also heard they might do in Indianapolis at a neutral site. So I'm anxious to see how it goes.
Well, I mean, as I've always pointed out, that's not fair for either team.
No.
An Ohio State team is built more for this dome than it is.
Well, it's not fair to the fans.
Exactly.
It's not fair to anyone. So,
exactly.
But that's going to be interesting to see how it works out.
From a novelty standpoint, it's interesting, but I wouldn't want my whole career and chances of playing for a national championship riding on whether it snows or not. I mean, I think that's nuts. Let's get into it. Underdog. Ohio State is an underdog. You guys were an underdog in 2014 in the first ever college football playoff when you went in to that game against Alabama, the vaunted team from the Southeastern Conference. What do you remember about the build-up to that, and how much did you play the underdog card in the build-up?
Well, the mind's an amazing thing. The mind drives everything, and the mind is very fragile, but can also be very strong. And it depends on what kind of team you have, but the underdog role, to me, I've always said the love, fear, and hate are the strongest motivators. Love being the strongest, but fear and hatred's a strong motivator. And if you can convince that team that you don't belong, we did it against Ohio State in 06.
Yeah.
Because the whole world says you don't belong. Against Alabama, I remember Lou Holtz was the only one that picked us to win. And boy, did we use that. But it depends on what kind of team you have. Like I said at the beginning of this, it's also very fragile. If you start playing the underdog card and you have a fragile team, that could kill you.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know exactly how Coach Day is going to play it. I don't know the leader. I don't know these guys that well. But I think we have strong, tough guys. And the underdog role is, in my mind, other than love, that's the strongest form of motivation you can have.
Yeah, because if you overplay it, then it's almost like your team might start to feel like maybe it doesn't belong.
That's true.
Right? Correct?
Well, a quick story is that and I felt it, but the greatest pregame speech that ever happened, in my opinion, one of the best ever in Ohio State history, wasn't really a speech. It was Wisconsin beating Auburn. And that was back in 2014. We beat Wisconsin 59-0. Auburn took Alabama to the last play of the game.
That's right.
And we all watched it. And I remember thinking, we're going to win this game. Yeah. And I went into our team meeting right after that, and I could see our players, our staff was elevated. because we start to believe the narrative you can't play with the SEC, and the narrative is true. SEC's that good.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You know what? Ohio State's that good. I'm not going to say the Big Ten's that good,
Yeah.
because the Big Ten's it's not that good as the SEC right now. It's getting better. There's certainly the Wolverines and Penn. There's some good teams, but Ohio State can compete the SEC right now any day of the week.
Yeah, I would like to have seen the odds on this game if Ohio State had beaten Michigan. You know, if that game hadn't happened, because it's right now it's only 6.5, 7.5
It
points.
would be an even game.
Yeah, it would be. And we're sitting right here in Georgia. As you look at this game, as you analyze it, how much does it matter that it's in Atlanta, Georgia? It's not Athens, Georgia, home of Georgia. Ohio State fans, they're going to represent in
Sure.
this stuff. You know, you guys beat Alabama in New Orleans. That's where Alabama used to go for their winter vacation when Bear Bryant was there. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So does it really play that big of a factor in a game like this when the crowd could be like 60-40?
I think it does early in the game. I think once you settle into the game, once again, it depends on the toughness and leadership on your team. If you got tough veteran guys now, when we went down to the Sugar Bowl, the one thing about Ohio State, they're traveling, they're loud. So there'll be a presence in that stadium. When I was at other schools, you go and it'd be 80-20, and that's a big difference.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be 55, 45 or 60-40, like you said.
Whoever wants to shell out the bucks on that resale market, right? And Ohio State fans have been known to do it. And a lot of them are getting their money back on some of their airfare, because of what's happened the last couple of days. Hey, I want to ask you this though. Just sticking with this game a little bit. Are you in? I don't know. Stetson Bennett is a guy that had to stick around like a stray dog for 3 years before he ever got a shot to play. C.J. Stroud was a fairly highly recruited, fairly highly regarded quarterback. They were both Heisman finalists. Does either one of these teams have an advantage at quarterback the way you've analyzed it?
I think Stetson Bennett's the most underrated player in college football. I think he's a winner. I think he plays with his legs, plays with his head. He's a pretty good passer. His size is an issue, but he plays tough.
Yeah.
Plays very physical. He'll get you the first downs. C.J. Stroud will be a first. He won't be a first-round draft pick, I don't believe. C.J. Stroud will be. His accuracy and his Corey Dennis, the quarterback coach, told me many times he sees the field better than any quarterback he's ever been around, and that includes Dwayne Haskins, JT, Dwayne Haskins, and Justin Fields, which is saying something.
Yeah.
He sees the field, and so he's going to have a big day. But I think the quarterback, I think we have an edge, but it's not as big as edge as everyone thinks. Stetson Bennett's the winner.
He's a gamer. I mean, he literally makes the run he needs to make, puts the ball on the money on the pass he needs to throw. To me, there are a lot of matchups in this game. Ohio State's offensive line versus their defensive front, their vaunted defensive front. If you can protect CJ is the question. Can you create some running lanes? Another question. But if you can protect CJ, I keep looking at this Georgia defense, and I keep going. Teams have taken shots. Missouri took shots against them and made them. They just didn't score touchdowns when they needed to. Kind of like what happened to Ohio State in the Michigan game. But it's there, right, for Ohio State if it can get those shots.
Yeah, the LSU threw for 500 yards on them. I know it was a little bit of mop-up time, but
still,
if there is a weakness, which I say it's relative, it's really not a weakness, but
it's just where fewer guys are.
Is the ability of the Bulldog Georgia secondary to play balls in the air. I mean, it's not once or twice; it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I've had that situation before. I mean, that's a skill for a defensive back to find the ball and go make a play on it when the receiver knows where it's going, like a Marvin Harrison Jr. So the biggest thing I think is Jalen Carter, number 88, is one of the best defensive linemen. We're going to have to throw the ball to win.
Yeah.
They're going to stop the run. We were not a great run team near the end of the year. We have some injury issues at tailback. We're going to have to keep CJ healthy. Ryan's going to have to move the pocket a little bit with CJ, and I think you're going to have to get 4 hands on 88. And that means either 2 linemen, or that means a tailback or a tight end. Going to have to. We used to call it chunk him, where you have to control him. Don't let him want. Our guards are good. This guy's a high draft pick.
As they call him, a difference maker, right? But I look at what you just said, and I've been saying this all along. Do what you do best. I mean, when it's down to the nitty gritty, you don't want to be uncomfortable, right, in this game.
Yeah, I don't like the imbalance in games like this, but I think this is going to be very imbalanced. I think we're going to have to throw for a bunch of yards, and you know how we were. Our goal was 250, 250.
Yeah.
We wanted to run the football. There's been times where we weren't able to, and and right now we're going to throw it to them.
Yeah, and I've always told people, when you say 250, 250, you're kind of looking really, you like that in every game, but you're kind of looking really at the end of the year, what's that? Where's that balance here? Yeah, but do what you got to do what they give you in a game like this and move on. This is all about the W. Kevin Wilson pointed out, Ryan Day to a certain extent, but Kevin Wilson was talking about it today, Ohio State's offensive coordinator, that, you got to figure you got to get into the 30s to have a shot in a game like this, because these are two pretty good defenses, but each team's going to be throwing haymakers of some form, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be that high scoring. It's interesting they said that, but I
just looking at the history of CFP games.
Yeah. I just think they're pretty good defenses. I think our defense, we got to keep the ball in front of us. We can't have what happened last time. There's ways to do it. I'm sure we're going to do a good job of making sure that ball's in, but we cannot give the big hits.
All right, I haven't asked you this. We haven't really talked about this, but I wanted to ask this before I move on to that other game. Did this defense take too many chances in that Michigan game to basically make sure it shut down the run, et cetera, and put some guys in some situations where they were uncomfortable? I'm talking about from a defensive back standpoint. I kind of like the plan, except it kind of relies on the guys on the back end being able to handle it. And when you looked at this team all year, they had a lot of trouble on 50-50 balls or balls thrown up, right? I mean, just what's your analysis of that?
Talking about the Wolverine game?
The Wolverine game.
Well, the Wolverine game, J.J. McCarthy really struggled throwing the ball downfield. So I can imagine until our defensive staff said, okay, and they have number 7 is a really good player.
Yeah.
Let's stop the run. He doesn't have he just is not. I think it was 20% accuracy on balls with 25 yards.
Yeah. He only had one pass, I think, of 42 yards.
So, hindsight's always second, 2020 and all that. But here I am actually, I used to get angry when you guys second guess us, but I'm not second guessing at all. I think that's part of the game of football. You said we're going to stop the run. How do you stop the run? You put one more or two more people in the box.
Yeah.
That's what we did, and they got behind us.
One last thing I want to touch on that. When you're Ryan Day, what would be if you're giving Ryan Day a pep talk going into this game from a play calling standpoint, from a aggression standpoint, what would it be? I mean, what sort of in a nutshell would leave nothing on the table?
Ryan Day is a seasoned veteran now. He's that's when I get asked questions about Coach Day, and I love Coach Day. Coach Day was the one that said he should be our head coach.
Yeah.
I think and look what he's done. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job. I think, to me, this is about not offense, it's not about defense, it's about the mindset of the team. You're getting ready to step in the ring as an underdog. There's no greater feeling in my mind. There's no greater feeling to walk in, unless deep in your heart, you can't compete with them.
Yeah.
You watch video tape, we can compete with these guys.
Yeah.
We have as good a player as Georgia. So now it's a matter of get the mindset to the right point, a fever pitch, not today, not tomorrow, but on the 31st.
I was privileged to cover a lot of boxing way back when, and the whole day I saw an underdog, beat Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas. But the point was, you're going to get hit when you fight Mike Tyson. Hit back. That's the deal. Counterpunch. Hey, real quick, what's intriguing to you about TCU versus Michigan? A lot of people think TCU is going to just sort of get, basically bulldozered out of the way and stuff. I see TCU as this kind of gamer team, like we were talking about Stetson Bennett. I see that whole team as a gamer, but I'm not sure they can get to the fourth quarter and have that miraculous kind of comeback like they've been relying on almost all year, and almost pulled it off in the Big 12 championship game.
Well, we did the Wolverines 4 times. We did TCU 2 times. I stood next to both sidelines. There is a talent differential. The one thing TCU is, it's one of those teams that has a heart of a lion, and their quarterback's a lion. I mean, the guy's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We were on the field against Texas Tech and then at Baylor when they came in the last second and won the game. In a team that won't be beat can't be beat. I remember coaches used to say that. I used to, what does that mean? In a team that won't be beat, there's a chemistry, there's a brotherhood. They're going to pick each other up. That's what they have. Talent-wise, it's a huge advantage, Wolverines. I mean, their offensive, defensive line. That's why I admire their team right now. They're built along the line of scrimmage. Those teams win championships. So I think the Wolverines handle them, but I think you're going to see a street fight.
Last question. You may not want to answer this right now. It's okay, because you're still analyzing. Who do you like, TCU and Michigan? I think you just almost said it.
What?
Who do you like in that game?
Well, I like the Wolverines. Who do I like?
Yeah, I mean, to win.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about Who do you see winning the game? Yeah, I know you don't like the Wolverines.
Oh, I see Wolverines win the game. I think it's going to be a street fight for a half.
Just make Marotti going back. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a street fight for a half, but I think they're going to wear it down because the offensive line wears people down.
And who do you like? Ohio State versus Georgia. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but see, I don't know. I go back to that underdog role, but this is like, I think Ohio State, like you said, is built for this game. But do they have their Dauber back? You know,
they don't need it back yet. Ask me in 3 days, and Lou Holtz used to always tell me you don't play the game until the game.
Yeah.
And so the job of the coaches right now, they should be in a focused mentality right now. If I was in the meeting room and I could get a feel for them, I could have a good feel going to win the game. Not now.
Yeah.
But as you approach the game, I think this will be a mindset game. If we can come out with a street fighter mentality of an underdog, I think whoever's the ball last will win the game. Wow. Whoever has the ball in their hands last will win the game.
But both teams have to know this is going to the fourth quarter, right?
Well, I think once again, what is today? Tuesday or something?
Yeah, when we're recording this, yeah.
So you don't have to be ready till Saturday.
Yeah. Hey, one last quickie. Were you big on pregame? Does the pregame pep talk, does it do anything?
It does in the games where you're favored. This kind of game is the prep. I think it's the night before is a very big one, how you wake up in the morning. But the actual pep talk before you play the Wolverines and pep talk before you play Alabama or Georgia, I'm not sure they're listening. And I wouldn't say much. I would always say about do your job 4 to 6 8B because I want them to clear the mechanism, as they say, play hard. Don't be win one for the Gipper type stuff. Not that game. When you're playing a team, you have to rile them up, then you have to break chalkboards and all that. Yeah. Not this one.
If you're playing Notre Dame, win one for the Gipper, right?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Urban Meyer. My name's Tim May. We've been doing these Urban Takes all year. We took a little siesta there for a couple of weeks. We're going to be back next week to analyze and look at who's going to be playing for the College Football Playoff National Championship on January 9th in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. It's going to be a hell of a 2 weeks. But for Urban Meyer, this is Tim May. We'll see you then.